How can you move forward if you don't know what's holding you back? Hey, Creating Maven. I'm Joy Spencer, your reframe specialist, with one important message. Your real work, it's not your job or your career. Your real work is what you create. And what you create is what sets you apart and makes you incomparable. It's your legacy. I'm here to show you a whole new way of working so you can create with your gifts, make a unique contribution, and finally get paid to be yourself. This is Reframe to Create. Sometimes I do something really weird. It's a trick of my brain, I'm sure. You see, I'm really, really short-sighted. I've been wearing thick glasses, very, very thick glasses, since the third grade. But as an adult, I got into wearing contacts most of the time. And my norm is to wake up in the morning, not being able to see. And so I'll usually roll over, stretch my arm out and grab around, with my hand until I can find my glasses. Then I jam them on my face and, kind of walk, stumble. Well, not really stumbling at this point because I can finally see. So I walk finally stumble free around my room and get up and start getting ready for the day. But sometimes if I take a nap in the middle of the day and I wake up and I'm all groggy, I forget that I've already put on or worn my contacts for that day. And I might still reach out for a pair of glasses that might be nearby. And then I just sort of before I open my eyes, I slip them on. And then I open my eyes and I'm like, wow. Wow, yikes. Wow, right? The blurriness is unparalleled. I don't know if you've ever done that, if you wear contacts and if you've ever put a pair of glasses over your contacts. Yikes, man. It's a lot. Or maybe you've put on someone's glasses whose lens strength was way stronger than yours. And oh my goodness, right? It's too much. And most importantly, you just cannot see anything. And it's weird because it's supposedly these two things that are meant to help you see better. But when you put them on together, you can't see anything. And why you can't see, you probably wonder well, why can't I see with a better lens? It's because the one lens that's already on there, the contact lens, it's already doing work. It's already doing hard work in the vision department. And adding the other lens doesn't help. It makes things worse because now they're competing. Now they're working against each other. So let me ask you, are you doing this? Are you doing what I did? Are you putting, not literally, but metaphorically, are you putting on a pair of glasses over your contacts? Are you slapping a reframe on top of an old frame? Are you slapping on a new perspective, whatever it may be, right on top of an old one that you already have? According to Dr. Hans Hansen, who stopped by Reframe to Create in episodes 59 and 60, this type of thing is not going to work. It's not going to work for the same reason that, as I described, wearing glasses over contact lenses doesn't work. The two perspectives will work against each other and, will leave you, with pretty much blurry vision. But don't feel bad if you realize that you've been doing this in a sense metaphorically in your life in some way, because what I've realized is I've been doing this here at Reframe to Create. This whole time, I've been pushing you to take on so many reframes, as a creating maven, things like your work is not your job or your career, things like liberate your work or be mission-minded, not job-focused. In episode after episode, I'm pushing you because, that's what I do. I'm a reframe specialist. I'm pushing you to get these reframes, to look at yourself, to look at your work, to look at your possibilities and all that stuff, to look at it differently. And really, I had to think about it. How much time have I spent doing the work of helping you to identify and tackle your existing frames? The existing frames, right? Like the existing narratives that are still working hard in your life and in your mind, like the contacts that are underneath before we put on the glasses. The existing narratives that are probably working against and counter to all these reframes that I'm trying to have you put on top of it. And it's making it harder to see with the new lens. Maybe I have been doing this a little, helping you to reflect on the existing narratives, but definitely not as much as I could. And I want to change that. I want to change that here and now. And I want you to hold me accountable. And I want you to do it like this. Anytime you feel that I'm going way down a road in an episode or in episode after episode with new reframes and all this new perspectives, and I'm not really taking enough time to really dig into the existing frames, the existing narratives that might be holding us back, I want you to email me and I want you to say, hey, Joy, you're putting on glasses over our contacts again. And I want you to let me know which narrative you'd like me to dig deeper into, because I want to make sure you're getting what you need and not getting stuck, in any of the existing narratives that we have. So let me know. Email me at joy@reframetocreate.com and say, hey, we've got a deal, Joy. Let's do this. Let's dig into this narrative. That's sort of like the contacts under our glasses. Because we've got a lot of work to do, but we don't want to make it harder on ourselves by failing to tackle the underlying narratives that may be holding us back. So that's what we're going to start doing going forward. And that's what we're going to do today in a big, broad overview way. I'll be trying to infuse more of this in upcoming episodes and reflecting and bringing that up. But I wanted to sort of like tackle at a large scale today a broad overview of 5 key narratives that are holding us back and making it hard for us to be creating mavens. This making it hard to create consistently, making it hard for us to do the things we need to do to liberate our work, to get paid to be ourselves, and leave a legacy that we're proud of. It's making it hard for us to be mission-minded. It's making it hard for us to focus on our gifts, all that stuff. And it's going to make it difficult for us to have the positive impact that we want to have and how we want to be in service to the world. So we're going to need to take a look at these troublesome narratives so that going forward we can be aware of them, deconstruct them whenever they rear their heads, and it'll give us a smoother road for the narratives that we need to adopt so that we can create, innovate, and generate the new. You ready? First narrative that's getting in our way and holding us back is this. I am insert job title. Remember the last time you were between jobs? Maybe it was a short window or a very long and stressful one, but no matter how long or short it was, you probably felt the same when someone asked you in the middle of that gap, hey, what do you do? And you were like, oh, please don't ask me this question, because you probably felt it in your gut. You probably felt a little lost, a little untethered, like a kid who was maybe lost at the grocery store and trying to find your mommy, a little bit like you didn't belong anywhere or to anyone. Like you had to sort of justify your existence. And this is especially true if you live in the East Coast of the United States. If you can't answer the question, what do you do? It's kind of like, okay, why are you breathing and, using up our precious oxygen, And if you felt even a smidge of an inkling like this, then you might have this very common script running through your head. The script that reads, when I'm employed in a job, I'm valuable and a proper adult. And when I'm not these things. And furthermore, this specific job title is my credibility. It's my status symbol. And when people ask me, what do? I will answer with, I am this insert job title. And introducing ourselves by job titles is one of the ways that we show that we have bought into and are maintaining this status quo of work that we're operating in, that we want to break out of. And when I say we, I really do mean we. I'm included in this. I fall into this trap. And this is fine, I guess, this identifying yourself by a job title. It's fine for other folks, but it's not fine for me. It's not fine for you. It's not fine for us because we're trying to be creating mavens. And as creating mavens, we're not job focused. We want to be mission minded. And being job focused in this way can make it hard to be mission minded. It's a narrative that drags and pushes against being mission-minded because it's the contact lenses and the glasses. And now, don't get me wrong, it doesn't mean that when we're mission-minded, that we don't have a job or are not focused on doing well on a job. What it means is that you're not so close up focused on it in a way that you ever lose sight of your mission. The job must be in service to something else, a broader mission, and that you must always be ready to trade in the job in service to the mission. And when you don't have a job, you are not without a mission. You are not without a mission because you don't have a job. And that's what being mission-minded affords you. And that's what defining by yourself by a job title sort of constrains you too. You don't get the benefit of that. So that's the first troublesome narrative. And I wonder how that sits with you, this sort of defining yourself by your job title, identifying yourself so closely with your job that when you don't have that job or that job title, you're quickly looking for another one because you need another one so that you can define yourself. Two, the other narrative that gets in the way of us and holds us back from being creating mavens is this idea that my work is my job. This idea that they're the same thing. I always say, right, the counter narrative to this is your work is not your job or your career. Your work is what you create, and what you create is in service to your mission. But this status quo is to think and to focus on your job because your job is synonymous with the work you're supposed to do here in the world. So everything becomes about winning points on the job, on finding out what success looks like in the context and according to the standards of this particular job, finding the ladder of that job and climbing it as quickly as possible, and all the things that go with that. So here we're identifying our jobs with the concept of work. And in the first one, we were identifying ourselves with the idea of jobs. So it's like, first, I am my job. And then it's like, my job is also synonymous with the idea of work. And they're not. Jobs are not synonymous with work. Jobs are things that are provided through an employer, but they're not the only type of work that exists. But when we think that they are, they become laden with all the virtues that our culture and society imbues work with and confers on those who do work or those who have jobs. So this automatically puts stay-at-home moms and dads, out to pasture because they don't matter. And anyone who's caring for elderly relatives or whatever, it don't matter because they're not doing a job from an employer. And not just that, but countless ways that people can contribute to society and countless ways that people work end up not counting. So the reframe for us is to think about our work as creating. Whenever we're creating, and not just creating products, services, and projects, but creating experiences, starting to think about work as the act of creating, not jobs or careers. Because you can have jobs and careers and not be creating. And so by that definition, the one that Reframe to Create is using, you can be in a job and not be working if you're not creating. So that's the second one, the second narrative, the idea that work and jobs are synonymous. That gets in our way. The third one is the idea that the more productive I am, the more successful I am. And this definition of productivity here is about knocking out tasks, getting stuff done, and believing that productivity, in this vein is a key to success, right? It leads to people really being, to their work being captured and having little to no investment in creating because you're just about what can I do? How can I dot the I's? How can I cross the T's in this job? And just work, for these folks and just get it done. And you kind of can get really good at it, really effective, really efficient, but just a little bit mindless about it, especially when it comes to what are you creating and how are you investing in your own gifts, right? That sort of goes out the window. You just don't have time. You're just being productive, so it sort of lends you towards this sort of robotic machine way of thinking and being in the world and doing things and knocking out tasks, because that's what the success is. The higher your knock it out rate, the more successful you are. And that definitely gets in the way of creating. So that's the third one. And then the fourth one is this idea of I need to go big or go home. And I see this a lot of times with clients, this idea that if I'm not Oprah, if I'm not Steve Jobs, right? If I'm not going to be this big thing on the big stage, then it doesn't matter what I do, or I shouldn't bother. It has to be big, or it's not worth anything. And that can really get people stuck in this place where they don't even try. They don't even venture into creating something because they can't see how it could be big. So they're oh, it's not worthwhile. No. This is so problematic on so many levels because for me, creating is valuable because it's something that's living, it's alive. And so it's not about how big it is, but the question is not, is it big or is it small? The question is it alive or dead? And it being dead is you haven't yet brought it into existence. You haven't yet made the effort to bring it forth. And so we want to get away from that and we want to just bring it forth. And we don't care how big or small it is, because creating is to the soul what breathing is to the body. It's such a critical part of being a human being, just for yourself, even before you offer it in service to others. It's just so important, just even to you, to your identity. There's so many people who I've spoken to who they can get stuck or feel lost at different points in their life. And then when they sort of like rejigger and get back to creating, it just sort of breathes new life into their soul and into their essence. So yeah, we definitely want to do away with that problematic idea that, whatever I create needs to be big or I need to go home. No, that's a problem. The fifth one is, if I can't figure out how to make money from it, then it's not worth my time. This drives me nuts. This idea, this push, this desire, I call it the monetize or be quiet syndrome. Like the idea that I've got to how can I make money from this? How can I make money from this? And if I can't make money from this, then I don't need to be doing it. And that is one of the absolute worst stiflers of creating. First of all, everything you create from, you don't need to make money from it. And it still has worth and it still has value for the reason that I was describing before, just like for you as a human being, and just how it elevates and strengthens you and just sort of like breathes new life into your soul in a way that other things can't. If you want to make money from it, by all means, figure that out. But don't use not money as an excuse not to create. Like that needs to stop. So no, the first question shouldn't be, how am I going to make money from this thing? But as I said, the first question you should be asking is, what do I need to bring this to life? And focus on that. So that's it. Those are the 5 that I wanted to tackle today. There are more. There are definitely more. There are so many more. And I'm sure you know of many more. But we'd be here all day if we wanted to tackle them. And we've got time. We've got time in other episodes. I've got other guests coming on. We've got time. But I just wanted to share these 5 today. And, and I want you to ask yourself, which of the 5 that I shared today is tripping you up the most right now? Is it the first one? Is it identifying yourself with a job title? Is it thinking that your job is synonymous with work and that without a job given to you by an employer, work ceases to exist? Or maybe it's the mindless pursuit of productivity because you believe banging out tasks automatically translates into being successful. Or is it the idea that whatever you create has to be big and bad and a global splash, or it's not worth creating? Or maybe it's the idea that you have to make money from what you create, or you shouldn't bother. Which is it? Which script is holding you back? Which one has the strongest grip on you right now? And I don't want you to feel bad. Don't feel bad. Don't feel bad that you've got one of these scripts running in the back of your head, because I do. I have some of these scripts running in the back of my head, and especially one of them. For a long time, I thought that my job was synonymous with work, and it made it hard for me to create consistently on my own for my own brand and for my own things, because I was thinking that creating for myself or creating just wasn't worth my time or valuable because, it just wasn't my job. And sometimes that thinking still gets in the way. And I have to do what Hans said we should do. I have to be aware of it, acknowledge it, and not hide from it. And then stop enacting it. And for me, that usually looks like interrupting my own thoughts and spending 3 minutes of creating, maybe 3 minutes working on this podcast, thinking some things through that I want to share with you guys, so that I can remember that what I create is my true work. And what I create is the only thing that I'm going to be able to own and keep with me beyond any job or employer. It's the only thing I'm going to be able to take with me for the time that I've spent in places, whether it's something I created inside or outside, right? What you create is the only thing that's ever portable with you. It's the only thing that won't be captured by an employer if you do it right. So I remember to stay committed to it because of this, but it's not easy. And those other narratives that I share today also sometimes come up for me. So which one is it for you? Which one is the main narrative that's holding you back? And now that I hope, and now that you've picked it out of the lineup, there's nothing for you to do with it, nothing for you to do with it just yet. You've done the hard part. The hard part is to see it for what it is and just pick it up out of the lineup. That's huge. Just being aware and acknowledging it. This is the first step. It's the first step to challenging it. And we have to challenge it because all of our future reframes depend on this work. And if you're willing to just acknowledge the narrative that's tripping you up and commit that you're going to stop enacting it, then that's huge. This is going to help you to be prepared to truly take on the reframes that are going to move you towards being someone who is consistently creating with your gifts, and someone who liberates their work so that they can be paid to be themselves, so that you can leave a legacy you're proud of. Now, if none of these narratives stick out to you and there's another one that you're wrestling with right now and I didn't mention it, then email me and tell me about it, and I may be able to tackle it in an upcoming episode. Like I said, there are so many, and we'll be tackling them all along the way as we push forward to take on the reframes we need to push, to get along. But I won't be doing it alone. There are many amazing guests coming up who will help us to get new reframes and to, bust out of these old ones. And I cannot wait. I cannot wait for you to meet these folks. They'll be tackling things like how we think we have to have a job or be an entrepreneur, and that we have to pick one of those two, that we can't be both. We'll talk about dabbling into both, and even talk about the idea that just because you leave a job to go become an entrepreneur, it doesn't mean that you're forever banned, from coming back and ever taking another job or full-time work. There's fluidity in things that you can do, or the idea that you can't craft your own work approach, something that I haven't talked about here, or your own philosophy, and that you have to, just follow the script of what's out there, like the idea that you can't come up with your own. And yep, I've got guests who will tackle that, or even the idea that you have to make money from only one employer, that you can't, that you can't make it from multiple places and spaces, and just the idea, I can't wait for this one. What about and we're going to have some folks on about personal branding, and the idea that just because I have a job, oh my goodness, I don't need a personal brand. No, we're going to nip the bud in that and talk about personal branding and why it's important for you as a creating maven to have and build a solid personal brand. So there's so much, right? There's so much goodness coming up. And so to prepare, it's going to be important for you to start observing every time you are enacting, living out, and following the script of the narrative that you described that's holding you back. Just notice it, right? For the next week, just notice it and just write it down. We're going to take it down soon enough, but for now, just watch. Did you enjoy this episode? Then for real, don't keep this to yourself. Reframe to Create is not just about me. It's not just about you. It's about all of us who want to liberate our work and get paid to be ourselves. It's about all of us who want to experience how we work in a completely different way, in a way that supports our lives. It's about all of us who, are here to create with our gifts and leave a legacy that we're born to do. So don't keep this to yourself. I want you to think of one person. Got them in mind? Okay, I want you to share this episode with them and invite them to listen to it and have a chat with you about it. Ask them what they think. Welcome them to the Reframe to Create family. See you soon, Creating Maven. Until then, remember to always ask yourself, what will I create?